I just wanted to pull one study up here. I think this is interesting. Let me pull this up here. So just to kind of support what we're talking about, right? This study is looking at neuroinflammation association alterations of the brain as a potential neuromarker in anxiety disorders. So we're just trying to build up the case that we're talking about here. Preliminary evidence suggests anxiety disorders are also associated with increased inflammation. Systemic inflammation can access the brain, enhance pro-inflammatory cytokine levels that have been shown to precipitate direct and indirect neurotoxic effects. Prefrontal and limbic structures, these are the parts of the brain that have to do with higher thinking, emotions, memory, are widely reported to be influenced by neuroinflammatory conditions. In concordance with these findings, various imaging studies on panic disorders, agoraphobia, generalized anxiety have been reported alterations in the structure and the function and the connectivity of our prefrontal and limbic structures. So what they're saying is inflammation is affecting the parts of your brain that are involved in higher thinking, higher function, memory, cognition, anticipating, cause and effect based on your actions, right? Prefrontal cortex it's the part of the brain that allows you to anticipate, to think, to plan. Most of people from from evolution, we've been more midbrain, kind of reptilian brain type of, kind of knee-jerk reaction kind of response. And the frontal cortex gives us the ability to think, and certain nutrients have allowed that part of the brain to grow. High quality cholesterol, omega-3 fatty acids, amino acids help that part of the brain grow. But if we drive inflammation in, that's going to have a negative impact. Now, what are the things that are going to be driving inflammation in our diet? Well, omega-6 refined processed vegetable oils, trans fats, refined sugar, too much carbohydrate, too much sugar. These are all going to drive brain inflammation. And of course, inflammation in the gut can cause inflammation in the brain. Inflammation in the gut's bidirectional. It's a two-way highway. Inflammation in the body, whether it's like getting exposed to Roundup or mold toxins, can cause gut inflammation. Inflammation in the gut through dysbiosis and food allergens can also cause leaky gut and cause inflammation from the gut to go outward up to the brain. And it can activate the microglial cells in our brain, which can create fogginess and more immune response that can make us feel worse and more anxious or depressed based on what's happening in the gut.
I just sent you one other paper too, which is kind of interesting, talking about antibiotics and how antibiotics are going to drive up depression and anxiety, and talked about treatment with just a single course of antibiotics was associated with a higher risk for depression and then also anxiety. So I'm not saying don't take them. I mean, if you need them to save your life, but I will just say that there's so many people that have been put on these different medications that affect the gut. And so when we're trying to paint the picture here of what went wrong, why did someone become anxious? It could have been that they went in for a routine dental procedure and they were taking antibiotics. They screwed up their gut. Now they have dysbiosis, as you mentioned, this big inflammatory link to the brain. Now they've got this bacterial overgrowth. They simply were using something as preventative medicine, these antibiotics, and then boom, now they've got this overgrowth. And then, as you mentioned, these bacteria are pooping poop. And then that's going to make you more anxious. So there was a question that came in about, well, how much time do probiotics take to work for anxiety? I mean, that's a really tough question to answer, because what else is going on? Are there gut inflammation issues? Are there bacterial overgrowth issues? What about candida problems? I mean, there's other things we have to factor in. So I wish it were just so easy to say, hey, take this probiotic in 3 weeks, you're going to be less anxious. I wish that were the case, but I think the answer is it depends.
Totally.